Everyone, I know I normally don't do a video like this, but I wanted to do something different this time. So these are going to be the 10 lies you hear about poets. I start, I don't know how long I've been writing poetry, probably somewhere since I've been a child or something like that. But I didn't really start getting really into it until I was almost 17 when I joined this website called Allpoetry.com. It is an amazing community. You have anywhere from contests, podcasts, groups, anything you want pretty much they have, and it's amazing people, just amazing site. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to these lies you hear about poets. Lie number 1, we are all a bunch of hippies. If you see me wearing a scarf around my head, or I don't know what a hippies do. I don't know, I'm not one, so there you go. But yeah, that is a complete and utter lie. Yeah, probably a lot of poets, they like more of maybe a softer lifestyle, or just kind of like they see the beauty in things and stuff, and they kind of seem like that and stuff of that sort. But telling you, not all poets are hippies. Now, if you are one. Lie number 2. This one's kind of like the first one. Poets are all a bunch of hipsters. It's kind of another one like the hippies one and things of that sort. They think that they're kind of like an odd group or so. But no, not all poets are hipsters, and if they are somebody that likes older things and wants to be authentic and stuff of that sort, go all for it. But not all people are like that, especially poets. Lie number 3. This is also like the first 2. Poets are crazy. Yeah, you're crazy too. You watching this, even though you may be a poet, if you're not, you're crazy too. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. Everyone has a crazy side. Doesn't mean that just because somebody sees things differently. You see things differently. I see things differently. That was a mouthful. But no, everybody sees things differently, so poets are not crazy. Lie number 4. Poets are not true writers. A lot of the times you'll always hear some famous writer like, oh yeah, a long time ago when they first started out, they started out in poetry. Like, it's just little things that they do. What the heck? Well, that's a blooper. Something just fell. Do I have magical powers with my hand? Mimic it so hard saying that poets are not true writers. And that is a bunch of lies. Yeah, most of the time, a lot of poets, they write a lot of small things. There's brevities and haikus and different stuff like that. And they think, oh, well, that ain't true writing. But it seriously is. Just because you're not writing a book or telling a story, everything tells a story. So yes, poets are true writers. Lie number 5. We make no sense, or poets make no sense. Yeah, probably if you're not a poet, you're not going to be able to understand sometimes what we're writing about. But all poets are just people that see the world differently and see it in different emotions in different ways. Like, it's always just going to be something that's different about us. And if we write something that doesn't make sense to you, you just may have a different mindset than we do. But we do make sense. And sometimes you really will one day get it when you hear somebody. Right. Number 6. Every poem has to end in rhyme. This one is definitely a lie. Every poem is different. Sometimes you don't even know, like the stuff you may be writing on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it just comes to your mind. That may actually be a poem. Because not all poetry rhymes. There's this thing called free verse poetry where you can just ramble on or write whatever you feel. All it is that it's a write that conveys an emotion. It doesn't have to rhyme. Yes, a lot of poetry rhymes, and that's usually when people think of poetry, they think of rhyming. And yes, you can do that, but it doesn't all have to end in rhyme. Number 7. All poetry sounds the same, or every poem is written the same. That is definitely a lie because everybody writes differently. Not every book is the same. So like I know people that sit there and say, "Oh, I heard that poetry. Oh my God, it sounds exactly like everything else." It's not. It may convey a different emotion. It may have different wording. It may do something, but it's definitely different. Lie number 8. All poets were awesome in English. All a bunch of like word worms or whatever you want to call it. No, that is probably not the case. I mean, I love English and I love words and stuff, but I didn't do that well in poetry when I was in high school. I didn't like all the meters and what syllable you use here and what you use there. I just wanted the imagination of it. So, not all poets, not all writers are going to be awesome in English. Lie number 9. Poetry is for children. I know that most of the time in school, a lot of kids are going to learn about poetry and stuff. You're going to sign them up for little things like that and have little classes for them and things. But the thing is, they may grow up to love it, or adults may learn to love it. I don't know how many people I have met on Allpoetry. I know I'm bringing up the website again, but it's a good group. But they said that they did not write poetry until they were like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, somewhere in there, even younger than that and stuff. Like I wrote it a little bit as a child, but I didn't really get into it until I got into high school. So no, poetry is not always just for children. Adults definitely. And our very last line, lie number 10. Only certain people can write poetry. This is definitely a lie. You that is watching this right now, you can write poetry. Anyone can. Anyone can do anything, pretty much. So if you want to write poetry, or you don't really like it that much, that's up to you. You are your own person. So if you think you can't write it, you actually can. And don't let people's comments sit there and say that you can't do anything. Do what you enjoy. That's what I have tried to learn my entire life. So if you want to write poetry, go for it. Like I said before, anything can be poetry. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you can think of any more lies or anything you'd like to add in the comments, definitely do so. I'd love to see it. And yeah, and make sure that if you aren't on allpoetry.com, you need to join if you are a poet or you're wanting to be one. So bye guys.